Hey guys, Andy here. I'm not quite sure how to try and sell this video to you as one to watch, other than I guess you get to see the Pocophone going through my usual tests, but I've got today the Pocophone F1 up against the Motorola Moto G6. Now they're both actually similarly priced. The Pocophone I paid just under £250 for. The Moto G6, I think now you get it for about £200, so a couple of months ago when it came out it was £240, so they're similarly priced. But the spec sheet isn't quite so similar. So the Pocophone F1 has got the Snapdragon 845, the very latest chipset, and on that it's got an octa-core 4x 2.8 GHz Cryo 385 gold and a 4x 1.8 GHz Cryo 385 silver with the Adreno 630 and 6GB of RAM. So generally quite impressive specs. The Moto G6 has the Qualcomm Snapdragon 450, an octa-core 1.8 GHz Cortex A53, the Adreno 506 and 4GB of RAM. So it could be a bit of a beating, but then only in the actual sort of performance-based things. Obviously I do screen tests, I do GPS tests, and we might get trounced over that. We'll see. It'll be interesting. If you do want to see a bit of a fairer fight, I am going to put it up against my Note 9, which could be interesting. Don't know when I'll get that video done, but subscribe if you haven't already. And well, let's crack on with the test, I suppose. And we'll start off with the good old Angry Birds 2 opening test. So both devices I would try and tap at the same time. And we see the Pocophone F1, as you might expect, getting off to quite a start. And it is basically into the game. The G6 chasing behind, but not particularly. There it is. And I will tell you, I basically cleared everything down and started them up again at the same time, and we're getting much the same results as you would expect. I kind of go for a best out of 3 just in case. We'll move on to the well, once I'll close everything down on both devices, and we will move on to Geekbench 4. So I used to use Geekbench 3 up till very recently. I've decided now to finally move on, but it is very slow, so I won't make you watch it all. We will skip straight ahead to the results, and as you might expect, the Pocophone, that is crazy to think they're both similar priced phones though. Very different results. So here we are outside now to check GPS. I am going to reset the GPS state. Try to do it again at the same time and then go back into GPS status toolbox, and you see that the Moto G6 was pretty much just connected almost straight away. The Pocophone F1 finally gets an actual lock. Interestingly, when it does get a lock, it's showing us more accurate than the G6. We're now going to do test the screens, so I just make sure that both of them have adaptive brightness turned off and that their brightness level is cranked right up to max. And then I've got a white image, basically just a plain white image that I can use to measure the lumens from the screen using my light meter. I don't know how accurate it is, to be fair, but I think it gives a general idea, and we see there kind of around the 460s, 470s mainly, a couple bouncing a bit higher, and the G6 470 up to 510s. So it looks to be kind of, well, brighter basically than the Poco F1. Not a huge amount between them, both very similar results to be honest, but the G6 takes that one. So we will move on to the speaker test next.
Tell me where to go, tell me what to do, I'll be right there for you. Tell me where to go, tell me what to do, I'll be right there for you. Tell me what to say, no matter if it's true, I'll say it all for you. Tell me what to say, no matter if it's true, I'll say it all for you.
Batteries in my Walkman, nothing's the matter with me. Look on the bright side, at least I ain't walking. On the bright side, at least I ain't walking. I bike ride through the neighborhood of my apartment complex. At least I ain't walking. I bike ride through the neighborhood of my apartment complex on a 10-speed, which I've acquired parts. Got find in the garbage. Afraid to put tires.
I think the Pocophone F1 does win that. It's possibly slightly distorted when it's playing at the max volume like we are, but it's slightly more rounded and it is slightly louder. Not a huge amount between them though.
Essentially gave organizations like GCHQ and the NSA a free rein to go do mass surveillance. It also overturned a lot of the rules and laws. Essentially gave organizations like GCHQ and the NSA a free rein to go do mass surveillance. The situation where people are clamoring for the Googles and the Facebooks and the Twitters also overturned a lot of the rules and laws. And now we're in the situation where people are
search engine providers are being overwhelmed, quite frankly, with inquiries about various use cases, who the users are, and the government's trying to basically subpoena all this information out of the big cloud.
So not that the G6 is bad, but I think the stereo speakers of the Pocophone F1, not surprisingly, take the victory there. We're going to move on to the browser test, so I'm just clearing the browser data on both devices. We will start off heading to BBC News. Just have to type the whole thing, and unfortunately I tried to do bbc.com and the G6 actually just googled bbc.com rather than browsing to it, so try and type them both at the same time. Initially it looked quite close, but then it seems like the G6 takes a lot longer to sort of finish everything off, I suppose, really. Next we're going to try NFL.com. And again, this appears a bit clearer, the winner being the Pocophone F1. Both seem quite sort of smooth and capable within their browsers. And then we'll do the third one anyway, even though the Pocophone's already 2-0 up. We're heading to The Verge. And again, I will try and tap at the same time. Not a huge amount between it on initially there. They both seem to load very quickly. They're both obviously on Wi-Fi, they're on the same Wi-Fi, so the actual connection speed shouldn't be a factor. And again, they seem smooth enough devices, both of them. So I think that's kind of probably what we expected. I think the G6, it did what it could. So with the specs that it has, there's no way it was going to compete on the benchmarks and the Angry Bird opening and probably even the browser test. But where it had sort of more of an even playing field, the GPS test, it did very well and won. The screen test, it was very close, but it was the better screen. So it's not a bad device, and that's why I've hung on to it after doing the original review a few months back, because it is a good device and I wanted it as kind of my budget champion. But that is all going to change, because there's no doubt that the Pocophone F1 is the budget champion. Now, whether or not it's a great device, as I say, subscribe if you haven't, because I will be doing the review in the next, well, some point in the next week, and you'll be able to see if it really is as good as the sort of specs and the performance that you've just seen make it out to be. So I'd love to hear your thoughts in the comments down below, but for now, my name's Andy, and I'll catch you all again soon. Well done, and thank you for making it to the end of the video. Hopefully you enjoyed it. If you did, you might want to click the little fellow that should hopefully appear about here to subscribe. You may also want to check out some of my other videos, which are going to appear somewhere there. Also, come and have a look at my website, androidandy.uk. There is also a forum. Come and say hello on the forum if you've got any questions about things, or request me to review things, or anything else. Just come and have a chat on the forum.